the back of my mind, it haunts me that it's not going to work, and I want it to so bad that I'm afraid I'm setting myself up for heartache.
With the holidays right around the corner, lots of people are getting ready for family get-togethers, but there are still lots of couples out there who don't feel like their family's complete yet. According to the Mayo Clinic, 10 to 15% of couples struggle with infertility, but it's something we don't talk about a lot, and there's no one solution. The fertility specialist we spoke with actually said he thinks the problem is getting worse because more people are obese, waiting until they're older to have kids, and in Missouri specifically, he often sees issues in men, more so than the national average. So over the next few days, we'll explore this issue through the stories of mid-Missouri couples facing it head-on.
Having her call me mommy, it never gets old.
There was a time when Christina Shannon worried she may never have the chance to spend her morning playing make-believe because she has polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Something else? Just frustrating because we did want it so bad and having to wait all that time and not knowing, can I even get pregnant?
Finally, she and her husband went to a fertility specialist, and after only one round of artificial insemination, little Harley was on her way.
The job's basically very simple. You need to get a good egg with some good sperm and a good uterus. That's our goal. Unfortunately, the devil is in the details.
Dr. Gil Wilshire says people often don't see fertility specialists because they assume they cannot afford it. But a procedure like Shannon's costs about $500.
I love you. Oh, I don't know how we lived before we had her. She's our everything.
Nick and Sarah Andres, on the other hand, have had a much more difficult journey with infertility.
Wanting something so bad, and you don't want to put the blame on each other, but most of it, if you want to, it's my fault that, this isn't working out as far as my body goes. And so I hated myself because I couldn't make him a dad.
They went through several rounds of fertility drugs, artificial inseminations, and 2 miscarriages, something Wilshire says is more common than he'd like. Almost a third of his patients' pregnancies do miscarry. It's been an expensive process. The Andres have already spent about $25,000 on fertility treatments before they decided to try in vitro fertilization, a procedure that they estimate will cost them another $12,000, and that's all out of pocket. 15 states mandate some sort of insurance coverage for fertility treatments, but Missouri is not one of them.
I don't get paid a whole lot, Sarah don't get paid a whole lot, but we just did it as we could. We're in debt. But yeah, we did it. So, so far, so good. And we should be able to do the IVFs.
So it's easy to understand why on the morning of Sarah's egg retrieval, they're both a little nervous.
Lots of medication.
Nick waits outside while the anesthesiologist puts Sarah to sleep and Wilshire gets to work.
The needle goes in the follicle. The follicle will collapse now under the vacuum pressure from my foot pedal. And there it goes. You can send.
After less than an hour, the doctor removes 32 follicles.
A spectacular result.
16 eggs fertilized, but because of complications, they decide to implant only one and freeze several others to potentially use in the future. After the procedure, Sarah learns her ovaries became overstimulated, one more problem she did not expect.
They were touching, so every time I moved, it was excruciating pain. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't lay down. I didn't work for 2 weeks. I couldn't do anything. It was just terrible, terrible.
Terrible, but worth it, she says, to see this.
We were just looking for a little black circle in the uterus today. We were fine.
She found out the IVF worked on October 1st, and she took a pregnancy test every day for the first few weeks, just to be sure.
He thinks I'm crazy, but it's like I have to. It's a mind thing. I don't know whether to cry or to get excited or to still be nervous because now I got to wait 2 more weeks, so that's a lot of pregnancy tests between now and then.
Most doctors recommend seeking the help of a fertility specialist if a couple's been trying for a year without conceiving, or 6 months if the woman is 35 or older. A few things you can do to help your chances of conceiving: get your weight under control and cut out any risky behaviors like drugs, alcohol, or tobacco use. Coming up tonight on KOMU 8 News at 10, we'll take a closer look at the emotional side of infertility and a local resource to help women struggling with it.
A lot of crying here. Tears of sorrow, tears of joy. An enormous roller coaster. You can imagine every month you try, and either you get pregnant or you don't. If you get pregnant, whoop and holler. You don't, It can be devastating.
Over the next few days, we're taking a look at the issue of infertility. It affects an estimated 1 in 10 couples in the U.S., and that's actually a conservative estimate. Some doctors think it may be as high as 1 in 7. Those doctors work to treat the physical side of infertility, but in meeting with couples dealing with it, we learned sometimes the emotional side needs treatment too.
Of course, we all want to become parents.
Once a month, this Columbia store transforms into a place where women come to try and make sense of one of the most difficult things they've ever gone through.
We normally start out with just a meet and greet, and we have everyone share as much or as little of their personal story, whatever they feel comfortable.
As they go around the room, they share both laughter and tears, each with a different story about how infertility or pregnancy loss has affected them. The American Pregnancy Association says infertility can put a lot of strain on a marriage and can lead to depression, high anxiety, loss of sleep, or a loss of appetite, among other things.
You kind of start to feel a little bit better, and then it's the next month, and you find out you're still not pregnant.
Just sadness, fear about what their future could look like if they don't become a parent, a mom.
Kelly Gillian has 3 children now, but it took years and eventually in vitro fertilization for her and her husband to have the family they wanted. She says she felt very alone in her battle with infertility, so she started the Graceful Weight Support Group. And over the last 4 years, about 100 women have come to both talk and listen. Women like Bryn Bryan, who suffers from endometriosis.
Perspective. There are a lot of people that have a lot more difficult challenges to face than we do, but also really just not feeling like I was so alone.
She and her husband, Brad, decided the several $1,000 price tag of in vitro would be too expensive for them, but they will try 4 to 5 rounds of IUI, or artificial insemination, to try and get pregnant.
We kind of go back and forth. One of us will just be ready to give up and move on and start the grieving process, and then the other one will have to become the cheerleader and say, we have 3 more tries, we'll give it, we don't know anything until we do those things, and then it'll switch.
They say open communication and being honest about their feelings has helped keep both their marriage and their faith strong.
I think it comes with a sense of failure. That I would encourage people to talk about and get out and deal with.
They're hopeful Bryn will be able to carry a baby, but are also open to other options.
We have talked about fostering. Brad's brother and wife foster, so we have a good example of how that works and kind of have a good idea that we might like to do that.
Because in the end, they know they just want to be parents, no matter how they get there.
He's firm when he needs to be, and he's kind when he needs to be. He can teach them how to throw a ball and tie a tie.
Bryn's heart is going to make her a great mother. She is at her personal happiest when she is caring for other people.
The Graceful Weight Support Group meets once a month. We've put the group's contact information on KOMU.com. Now, once a couple has expended all of their options for fertility treatments, or if they decide some treatments aren't for them, many consider adoption. Tomorrow on KOMU 8 News at 6, we'll meet a family that decided to go that route.